Hello, my loves. Welcome to the Manifesting Happiness podcast, hosted by myself, manifestation coach, and the author of Manifesting Happiness, Esther McCann, aka Miss Manifesther. There's a lot of manifesting words in that intro, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to adjust that possibly. On the show, myself and my guests will be talking all things manifestation, spirituality, discussing techniques, success, and mindset shifts to create your dream life, whatever that looks like for you personally. I'm also going to be exploring and calling out any toxic spiritual concepts, freeing you up from some of the bullshit that is circulating on the internet. So let's get you manifesting results and, above all, making the practices healthy and fun. And today I am joined by the beautiful Caroline Kelf, aka DJ Flourish. How are we doing?
I'm doing great. Really good today.
It's a Monday. It's a brand new week. Every day, every moment is a fresh start. But yes, it is a brand new week. And I'm so grateful that you are here with me today, Caroline. Let me just grab up your bio. Here we go. Caroline Kelf, aka DJ Flourish, is a female empowerment DJ and the founder of the Self Love Raves. Caroline is a master at helping women. I'm gonna do a little song, Let Go on the Dance Floor, and is on a mission to empower women to live as authentically and unapologetically as possible. Caroline, I've been on some of your online raves, and they are absolutely amazing. And the music that you choose is just phenomenal. And we were both at Happy Place Festival here in the UK, and I was gutted because your slots were sold out. So I did not get to come and rave with you. It's an absolute crime, especially as I know you. But how did you get into this in the first place? Because this is a real purpose for you, isn't it?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I always knew, like from quite a young age, that when I hit my 40s, it was like I like messed around quite a lot for quite a few years, but it was like I knew underneath it doesn't matter, because when you get to your 40s, you're going to do what you came here to do. And so it does feel very much like a purpose to me. But it started from, a personal development journey that actually got a little bit quite dark and serious. I started looking into personal development in like 2015, went down the health route, went down the deep spirituality route, went through into the toxic spirituality route, which is funny when you said that. I was like, wow. And I kind of lost myself and who I really was in all of that, trying to be someone I wasn't. And so then I decided that I needed to find things that lit me up, and I didn't know what that was at all. And so I went on a course about becoming an awakened leader, because I did know that I was going to be doing something to help others as well. And it kind of just kept saying things like, when were you most happiest? When was you in your joy? All that kind of stuff. And so I started thinking about it. And at first I got quite deep with it, because I was quite serious. And then I was like, well, actually, when I was in my most joy was at after parties after I'd been out clubbing all night. And I got everybody together and I just took control of the hi-fi system in those days. Do you know what I mean? And basically kept the after party rocking for I don't know how many days, made everybody dance. And then also I used to be an aerobics instructor before I had my daughter. In the evenings, and I loved like holding space for women and stuff like that, and energizing people and motivating people. And so I just started DJing and knew that that was going to be something that I did, in this combination of my ability to really motivate and energize people. And it all just started to unfold. Like, we went into lockdown, I started offering the online raves. They then kind of moved into it being women only, and it became a community. And because I've been on a very deep journey of self-love, personal development, and experienced all forms of personal development and spirituality, I kind of brought a lot of wisdom to them. And then when we came out of lockdown, I then wanted to take them out onto the road, and since I've done that, that's when it's really accelerated very quickly now for me. It's quite clear that I'm here to hold a space for women to dance, to be free, to tap into joy, to let go, but also to really celebrate themselves and to move as far out of this patriarchal conditioning that we're all in. And so that's what I do through my raves. I also do events as well, which are about your becoming your authentic self, where there's DJing involved, but there's other stuff as well. And yeah, it's exciting, it's fun.
Don't you find it amazing how sometimes I guess it's that question of, did you see yourself ever doing something like this? But ultimately bringing those components and those parts of your journey together, and it's that feeling of everything is working out for me. Maybe I wasn't going to just be an aerobics instructor, or just kind of on the hi-fi system at after parties, but it's funny how it all comes together sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not just been that part of it. It's been the fact that I was a PA. And also I've worked for women who are in personal development and coaches. So I understand the coaching industry, I understand marketing in that. And so all of it has kind of come together. But still, where I'd say is that where I'm at now is exactly where I'm meant to be. And, I've got major plans for the future, but they're not right now. I've still got learnings to do. I've still got loads of growth, and I suppose it is about enjoying where you're at as well right now, which can be quite hard, especially if you're quite driven like I am. But it is, yeah, I feel exactly where I'm meant to be right now in this moment, and that's a really, really lovely feeling.
It's a very powerful feeling. I think I've touched on it on a previous episode, that energetic space of, I'm right where I'm supposed to be, and yet I'm so excited of knowing everything that is also possible for me and everything that I can create, but not feeling, and like you just said about you're very driven, that feeling of like, I want to rush there and I want to get there right now because I know it's going to feel so good when I do get there.
Yeah.
But not doing that, because then you're not really necessarily being fully present with what you're doing. I was going to ask then, so you tapped in on the word authenticity.
Yeah.
How do you think being authentic helps you, whether it's a manifesting level or at a personal development level? What is the kind of the freedom or the superpower around authenticity?
For me, it's like a massive act of self-love. Um, being who you are in the world, and that means like not saying yes to things that you don't want to do. It's wearing what you want to wear. It's doing the things that light you up, even though you might get judged, or you might and it's asking for what you want, all these kind of things that are actually quite tricky to do. But the more and more you do it's kind of like a reconfirmation and an affirmation to yourself that I am enough as I am in this world. And I feel like that energy is really powerful to put out into the world, because I feel like the universe or whoever kind of is like will reward you for it. Do you know what I mean? It's because it's quite brave, but actually the more you kind of show up as yourself, it's kind of a feeling of, I don't know, deep connection and joy. And I feel like that's, if we're talking about manifestation, it's kind of like a vibration, that, isn't it? But I've never really followed major manifesting stuff because of, as you said, like toxic spirituality. When I did do it, it felt really false. But now, because I am putting out things that are very aligned to me, they just come naturally.
Yeah, I've said it in the book, like the phrase that I think I've used, or let's put it, spirit views, because sometimes people are like, you said this to me once, and I'm like, did I? Like, I haven't got a Scooby what I say sometimes on podcasts or in books or whatever. I think I said in this, manifestation is a game of being. And sometimes just like, yes, okay, doing the techniques or the rituals and things, yes, okay, there is being within that, and there's an energy that drives that. But ultimately, who you're being on the daily and the way in which you are showing up for life is putting out its own energetic signal, and I think that's what a lot of people lose sight of, is they're like, I just want to do the technique and then just carry on being limited, or or not tapping into their power or living their best life, in between all of that stuff. And I think authenticity is so powerful, because when you are being truly authentic to yourself and honoring your needs and all of this, you are literally saying yes. And the law of attraction and manifesting, or universe, or whatever, it's all about a response to what you're saying yes to. And if you're saying yes to yourself, incredible things are going to happen. So it's pointing at all of your dreams and all of what matters to you, and saying, magnify this for me, please. And life just does continue to get better. But you're so right, we're very much conditioned, especially as women, to be like, oh, everyone else comes first, I'll go on the back burner, people pleaser, all of that kind of thing. Like, I think even now I can think of things where I'm like, it's really hard to say yes to myself on certain levels. How do you feel about that? I think, like you say, it's a journey, right?
Yes.
You're not just going to one day just be like, I'm saying yes to everything to myself now. Like, some of it feels easy, some of it doesn't.
It does, and I think some of it takes a lot of inner work as well. And I have to say that in terms of manifesting, I've actually asked for the lessons in order for me to work through inner work, or I've asked for the people to come in to help me.
Yeah.
Because I haven't known how to deal with something. So I'm going through something at the moment, actually, in terms of I'm really up leveling with my raves. I've got the team from Happy Place Festival. They're wanting to be involved in growing them as well, which is really exciting. And my other events too. And I'm looking at changing the way I do my marketing, and it's all about me really up leveling. But it also is going to involve me handling a lot more money coming in.
Yeah.
And also me paying bigger bills and all that kind of stuff. And financially, I'm in a situation where my I've always been looked after. But I've always been looked after in a very rocky upbringing. Without saying too much, because it is quite personal to me. But my mum and dad got divorced, but my dad was like my safety. And he used to give me a lot of money once they got divorced. And I've got this. And then what's happened is I've married someone who's kept me very safe, and he's a real traditionalist and all that kind of stuff. And so, as well as there being patriarchal, me in this traditional kind of role, there's also a belief that I've got that if I make my own money, I won't be safe and loved.
It's like the opposite end of that stick.
Yeah. So I'm having to work on myself at the moment, and actually sitting with what it is going to feel like when I break away from that. And that feels scary. It feels like heartbreaking, but at the same time, so I have sat with those feelings, and I've kind of looked at those behaviors and stuff, and then I'm now coming out the other side of it. And so actually, and I called in the people to help me with that, and all the right information came in. And so as well as kind of being my authentic self, finding it hard. I can't even remember what your question was. You said it was finding it hard sometimes to actually say yes to stuff. Exactly.
Yes.
Just saying yes to this up level of money has been something, it's been traumatic for me. And I've had to really delve deep and understand why I'm finding it so scary, this idea of handling lots of money.
Yeah. It's so true. I think generally the manifesting, community, obviously we all want, don't we? We're like, I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And sometimes people will set an intention, and then suddenly it feels like literally feels like you're being tested, or the shit's hit the fan, and you're like, whoa, I didn't sign up for this. And it's the way I describe a universe test because some people, I think, in manifesting do believe that there is a God or a higher power, and other people see it as more, it's just universal forces. The way I see it is that in order to prepare you or make you ready to receive that next level, the quantum jump, the manifestation, you have to literally, like you said, upgrade. Caroline has to take on new behaviors and literally a new way of being and operating at a completely different level, in order to vibrationally align to what it is she wants, and in order to see that through to the completion. And it's not even just that, it's about then being able to hold it, because sometimes, I see all manifestations as like a plant that needs to be watered. Like I could, the universe can go, here's your orchid, which represents, you getting these huge high financial deal raves, but you still need to nurture that, and other things in your life still need nurture alongside that. Where your focus goes, the energy flows. So being able to hold the space for all of that, and looking after all of it in the process. Yeah, I think people don't want the rocky bit, or they think the rocky bits come along and then they go, oh, this manifesting stuff is all kind of bollocks. And it's like, it's not.
No.
But you have to sometimes do things differently to get different results, and that requires you being different. And so for me, if I feel tested, I just tell myself, I'm like, it's just a part of me that feels tested. It's not necessarily that I'm being tested, although it kind of are, but there's parts of me that are like being challenged because they've never gone there before. And down the line, once we've risen to all of that and we've worked through it, it won't feel like that anymore. And I kind of always tell myself, I'm like, my higher self knows that I can do this. And I think that, coming back to authenticity, it's stripping out all the crap that's stopping you from living at your best authentic level.
Yeah. And I can feel the shift now today after what I've been through this weekend. And I think about handling the lots of money, all I feel is flow. And so I've got a lot better at this now. It's taken me a long time to move through things as quick as I do now. But at the same time, I'm also very intentional. When I say I'm going to do it, I fucking do it. Do you know what I mean? So like last week, I was like, well, it's been a few weeks now. It's been bubbling up. Need to sort the money. Don't want to look at it. Don't want to look at it. Oh, it feels too uncomfortable. It's too big, too complicated, too complex, all that kind of stuff. And then I just went, no, I'm going to sort this. I don't know what it looks like, but I am going to sort this because this has to happen. And it's that energy that I really, and this is what I say to people who come to my raves, who are nervous about coming, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, tap into the energy of fuck it. Like literally, fuck it. Just walk through that door, clench your fucking bum cheeks and walk in. Do you know what I mean? And that commitment and energy is something that really has kind of helped me really shift things quickly. It's moving out of victim into like self-sovereignty, moving out of worry into this is uncomfortable, but I'm going to do something about it.
I put it actually out yesterday as a post, like for me, it's about procrastination. Like I don't actually identify as a procrastinator, but I know when I'm putting things off. Like I know when I am. And as you said, it's took you time to be able to move through things quite quickly. And I think that is I don't know if it's like a mindset muscle, a spiritual muscle, but yeah, sometimes, as we said before we even got on this call, sometimes I'll be in something for months trying to, and then now sometimes I can move through it a lot quicker. But my mantra lately has just been, every action I'm taking today is literally an act of self-love that my future self one day is going to thank me for. And like that for me, and I'm sure you feel the same, I'm doing it for her. Like, yes, it feels like you say fucking butt clenching scary, but one day she's going to go, I'm so fucking proud of you because you did that for us. Like you gave us that chance by taking a shot.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is scary.
It is scary, but I do it for two things. I think in terms of my health and how I feel, I do it for my future self. You know, when I don't want to step in that ice bath, or I
Oh,
don't want to do that. I'm like, come on, your future self, and choosing joy and kind of getting off my phone and all that kind of stuff. Even though I do, I do digress, I do mess up, and I do, fall off the wagon nearly every day. But I also I feel very much driven to do it for kind of the world. I'm really driven by impact, and I'm really driven by the women I'm here to serve. And so that actually is, and I know that it's probably not always the best way to look at it, but it does actually, it's easier for me to do things for other people sometimes.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's funny how we've just come kind of a full circle on like about saying yes to yourself, but sometimes it's easier to say yes to other people. But I think you're so right in terms of sometimes when you need to get out of your head and just take yourself out of the equation of like, what if I get judged or I can't handle this or whatever, is going, actually, hang on a minute, like this is a strong statement, but who am I robbing of like my magic and my light? And it's not even about you then, it's just about saying like, I'm a space holder for magic and authenticity and empowerment. And by not holding that space, where am I holding other people back?
Yeah.
From them discovering all of that stuff within themselves. And I think when we do that sometimes, and we connect in on the why and the impact on that level, you're right, it can be just like, okay, even like I say, even my future self, I almost see her as a person outside of myself.
Yes.
I think it can be easier to go down that road to kick you up the butt, to put yourself out there.
Yeah. And I think that also really aligns to your values as well, because some people who listen to this might think, well, I don't feel like I've got a purpose to help loads of people and stuff. But then the really important people in their life might be their children. Their purpose might be really strongly to be a mother that's here to really, nurture their kids. And so they do it for them as well. Do you know what I mean? I think it's really important to get clear on who is important to you and stuff like that, and do it for them as well.
Yeah, it's funny because when you said about the ice baths, I laughed because our previous podcast, there was a lot of joking about how I won't get in the ice bath. So here it is again. And then, yes, and then the one before that was a conversation with Ryan, and he said, I encourage everybody to get really clear on their values. I think when you get really clear on your values, it helps you decide what is for you and what is not for you.
Yeah.
And stops you either staying in spaces that aren't lighting you up, as you said at the beginning about going for what lights you up. And it helps steer you towards what is a vibrational match for you.
Yeah,
do you know what your personal values are? Have you got them as a set?
I'm going to do them again though next week, because I think they're changing at the moment.
Okay.
It's because I had leadership down, and actually I don't like that word anymore, because I'm building a team at the moment. So I've got a team of like about 5 or 6 women who are all part of me building this kind of empire of raves and other events. And something it's really important to me that I've noticed that I want to do is it's about my own growth. So number one, why I'm doing this is my own growth as well as helping other things. But the next reason is about the growth of my team. I have this deep desire to really help and inspire my team to deeply grow. And then then that is something that then I want to bring to all the women who then come to my events, is about growth and connection and all that kind of stuff. And so I want to have a look at them all again, but definitely connection, definitely impact, probably authenticity, like 100%, and love, and joy and fun, and like kind of color and vibrancy, all that kind of stuff. They're kind of my values, that are for my business, and for myself. But then relationships, they might be slightly different.
Yeah, exactly, isn't it? There's a bit of a crossover, and other times, like, no, there's certain things that have their place in their places. Your raves are sober raves, aren't they?
Yeah.
And obviously, I say this part with love, but you're not sober yourself, and that's obviously totally fine. What is the basis for having the raves sober?
Well, I just feel that if everyone's all on the same level,
Yes.
it creates a feeling of unity and connection, which is really important, because that's what the raves are about. The biggest feedback that I get is that the energy in the room of women celebrating each other versus judging each other. And this whole, you remember when we used to go out clubbing and you had that euphoria and you look around and everyone, and it would be the connection and togetherness. That kind of feeling is something that's created without the drugs and the alcohol. And so I don't feel that you can be your true authentic self when you've had a drink. And I literally will have a drink every now and then. And I stopped drinking for like 15 months. But I have a tendency sometimes, or I did have a tendency, to really put myself under these rigid kind of rules that sometimes are, a form of kind of beating myself up, and high expectation that I'm never going to kind of reach, because as a form of kind of, just hurting myself. And I kind of did that a lot when I was growing up, as a form of perfectionism. And I stopped drinking about 3 years ago to do this. But actually, I did it because I was feeling shit. And so I stopped drinking. I then became quite like, I hadn't really owned it, because I don't really think it was very authentic. And so in the end, after 15 months, I decided to drink again, actually as an act of self-love, because I was like putting myself under this pressure.
Yeah.
And now I literally just have a glass of wine every now and then. It's a choice, but there are other things in my life that I really do abstain from, certain foods. I have an eating disorder for a long time. So there are certain foods that, as an act of self-love, I know it's just better if I don't eat them, because A, they make me feel like shit, and B, they're a trigger food. So but in terms of the actual raves, they are well-being female empowerment experiences. And I just feel that if people were drinking alcohol, it wouldn't have the same energy and vibe and connection that it does at all. And we do have like alcohol-free cocktails, with cacao there, all that kind of stuff. So
Wow. Yeah. Lovely. Yeah.
so we put everything in place to create the feeling that you're doing what we used to do, but just without the actual substance.
I agree. I think that makes complete sense, that because as you are holding a space and a container to have everybody level, and we all know that people react very differently to alcohol, and sometimes it brings out the best in people, and sometimes it can bring out inner demons. And I think it's also about making sure it stays a safe space for everybody. So that makes total sense. I also think, for me, often the way I feel after a day after drinking, especially if it's a brutal hangover, not just the physical aspect, but the anxiety sometimes, or there's even shame of like, what was I doing, or what was I saying? Like surely that counteracts everything you're trying to achieve, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it is something that people are really like, oh my God, I can't do that. It's the one big barrier, I think, that really, well, there's a few barriers. lack of confidence and, low self-worth, and I can't dance like anymore, and I'm not going to be able to dance, and what am I going to wear? There's all those kind of things that people, I think, block people off. But alcohol is the one when I talk to them about, they're like, sober, really. And I'm like, yeah, but seriously, the feedback I have, it just goes out the window within minutes. It's the one thing that people are really mostly scared of, but it's the one thing that doesn't get mentioned as like, that was really hard.
Mm.
The hardest thing is for people to walk into that room, actually, and that's what the feedback is that I get the most, which is why I've got a team of hype women that are all there that really support you, and we have like pre-meets for solo ravers and all that kind of stuff, and the energy created is one of like, you've got this, you're enough. Got WhatsApp groups that people can join if they're feeling overwhelmed and all that kind of stuff. And so but yeah, no, the alcohol thing, it really does help with the unity and togetherness.
I love that. And I'm happy to just, be real and raw. Like, I know I would struggle. Like, I've been on nights out and I've been the sober one.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to drive. And I mean, I suppose it's different because you're like sober and then you're just sort of watching everybody just sort of like crumble into this drunken mess around you. And you're like, I'm the sober one. But like you say, if it's a leveler and everybody's there, it's very, very different. But I know that it can be really hard for me to start to like loosen up and to feel free. I've been invited to some sort of, ecstatic dance kind of things. I've also got a sort of a bit of self-concept that says I'm not the best dancer. So, and then the other aspect of that, and I suppose I wasn't really expecting to go in this direction, but and this is sad, I think it's beautiful when women are like, I just want to go out and dance because I just want to go out and dance with my girls. But there's so much to be said for, I'm going out and dancing because I'm looking to pull.
Yeah.
And like you say, it doesn't need to be sexual. Like you can be free in your body and that may come across as sexual, but it's not about that. And I think that I just know a lot of people who they'd be like, they'd literally be almost like, why would I be dancing for anything other than the attention of a man?
Yeah, I did an email about this because I send out quite honest emails to people about how I went to a mixed rave and I felt myself dancing for attention, not just male attention, female attention too, and how I had to like unpick it and be like, because and how part of me really wanted it, and then the other part felt shameful for that. Do you know what I mean? And so actually I totally understand. But actually the feedback I get is that it was liberating not to be ogled, not to be, spoken to, all that kind of stuff. And actually it's just about you dancing for yourself. I have the stages where women can come up and dance in front of a room full of women who celebrate them, and their dance is celebrated for exactly who it is, because we all dance differently, and that's the most amazing thing about it. Do you know what I mean? Everyone moves differently, and it's about really, when I dance and I fully own my dance, and it's just for me and nobody else, it feels really, really good. Really good. Very
I'm laughing in my head because I'm going, actually, when I'm drunk, I think I'm the best dancer in the whole world.
Oh, me too. Or when I used to get all bloody ease, when I used to take all the ecstasy and everything, I was like the best dancer in the world. But actually now, everything is a practice, isn't it? So I'm behind the decks all the time, banging out the tunes. And so my moves have become a lot more kind of fluid and like aligned to the music and all that kind of stuff. And so, and that's just come naturally. So, but yeah, it is a practice. I think I forget sometimes how hard it must be for people to walk in and start dancing, and that's why some of the raves I use silent disco headphones.
Right.
So my one last week, so it helps you come inside. You're not like looking out at everybody, you know, and then I'm on the mic saying, you know, stop comparing yourself, come into your body, just let go, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and then I do ones without the headphones, which are harder for people, but you can hear that bass in your chest. So if you like that kind of like deeper,
Yes.
dirtier, grimier kind of thing, that's when I like those ones.
I think, and I will say that obviously, if people are like, look, I do want to go and dance and get ogled and whatnot, if that's your version of authenticity, good for you. But I think there is, and I think that you said it as well about even your values changing, whether we've touched on this podcast before, but you're allowed to switch things up. Like, you're allowed to say, one day I want to be like this. Today, no, I want to just dance with the girls. Other days, feel like I want to go do that. Fine, if that's for you, you know. But it's just interesting how, if a certain situation is making you feel pressured to be a certain way and it doesn't feel authentic, it's very interesting to tap into that. Particularly, how do you want your kind of your raves to create an ongoing ripple impact? You know, how do you want them to empower women as they go forward then out into their just general reality, rather than it just being something that happens at the raves?
Yeah, this is really important to me, and it's something that I sit down with the team before we put on an event, and we're like, right, from the moment they book that ticket to the moment that they walk through the door to the experience on the night to then what they leave with is how can we maximize this for as long as possible. And so leading up to the rave, they get a lot of information about like what you wear as an act of self-love, about you know, how you approach the event, you know, how we're non-judgment, what's that actually mean, what the whole the patriarchy, you know, all my socials are covered with it. I will be doing a lot more around that, I think, moving forward. And then on the actual night, obviously, there's the whole messaging, which is all around everything to do with self-love, to do with, you know, celebrating yourself, moving from judgment into celebration, but then also being with the discomfort, knowing that it's uncomfortable and that's okay, being courageous, stop comparing yourself to everybody else. And then also we do a lot around, so the actual music choice has a lot of messaging in it around boundaries, self-love, empowerment, all that kind of stuff. But then also expansion and saying and being committed to it. And it goes back to what I just said, you know, that energy I just said, where I'm like, right, I'm going to fucking do this. I am doing this. So I will really get quite vocal about, if you want to say yes to yourself and you really want to make a commitment to self-love, do it now with a gut-wrenching yes. Whilst you've been dancing for 2 hours in a high vibe energy, and that is like a yes, it's like a fucking times 1,000,000% up to the universe. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then they get to take away like a pledge with them.
Oh.
Yeah, so at the end of the rave, once I've brought everybody down and really done some deep heart stuff, then at the end of the rave, they can go and sit and they will write things. You know, these are what people have actually left behind, but they're supposed to take them with them. But I've got some lovely things, you know. I protect your heart, keep a fuck it mentality. I pledge to continue to throw myself into new experiences in order to discover the true me. You know, people take this kind of away with them, and then they have these from each of the raves. And then each time they come to a rave, they'll get another one and they'll see the growth.
Yes.
Because it's really important to reflect. I went to this rave 6 months ago and I couldn't even put my hands up in the air. And this rave, I'm there at the front doing this. So for me, it's not just that you come to the rave and you go. There's a whole experience and a shift that happens within you that you carry forward.
And you're so right about, like, really take that time to reflect on how far you've come. I think I'll touch on it then, as this is almost like, it's not a toxic spiritual concept because it's true, but, you know, people are like, oh, you know, so there's only the now. Past, you know, past don't matter, and future, you know, is only kind of manifesting based on how you're using this present moment. But I think to use the present to reflect on how far you've come, to build yourself up, to celebrate yourself, will empower you to go forward. And like, and again, it's the past stories. If the past stories are going, oh, you know, this was shit, and I'm this and I'm that, and all right, I'm not there now. But if you're still kind of holding on to that victim mentality, and you're not making peace with that, you are still carrying that forward. So I think being able to self-celebrate and, like you say, see the growth is just, it's just everything. It literally will carry you forward. And I think people think it's very egotistical to do that, but I think you need that healthy sense of pride, self-love, self-worth to be able to get you to show up and operate in the ways that we were talking about at the beginning of this video.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. I feel like for me personally, I have to do it because I can fall into victim quite a lot, you know, especially when there's organizing events and someone's not done what I've said, or go, oh, like, you know, I can be like, I'm not doing this anymore. What's the point? You know, all that kind of stuff. And then or one person says something on feedback about the music choice I've made or something. But I just have to continually make an effort to celebrate myself and to celebrate my it's really important. It's something actually that I quite struggle with.
Yeah.
Something that I have to do.
I think a lot of people do struggle. I remember I've done things at retreats where I said, right, you know, say something nice about yourself. People really struggle with it. They're not used to it at all. I'll to wrap up before we go, do you have a tip for dealing with criticism, or B, a tip for self-celebration?
I'll do a tip for criticism because my followers have just gone up quite dramatically recently. And now I'm getting comments around, you know, certain things that I'm doing that I'm annoying, that I don't DJ on vinyl, all this kind of stuff, to bore off and all that kind of stuff. And actually that doesn't bother me at all because they're not my tribe. So for me, in terms of criticism, the only thing that matters to me is what my tribe says. And all I've ever done is try and be the best person I can be. So, you know, I feel like as long as you're doing that, and you realize, you know, we can be so hard on ourselves in kind of, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, and I'm a shit mum and everything. I'm a shit mum because I fucking care and I want to do a good job. Do you know what I mean? I care. So I think, like, in terms of criticism, just to flip it on, kind of, you know, I care and I'm doing a good enough job, I think is kind of where I have to take it a lot of the time, because I do get, and when I get criticism from my raves, if people don't like the music or they didn't think the lighting was too bright or whatever, I kind of like, I don't know, I now really kind of just remember everything that I am doing right and just use that as like, right, okay, how can I make this better? That was a really long-winded.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And I think what is most important here is that you said, I can hear my dogs are barking and the neighbour's dog's barking and something's gone down. It's that case of, right, I can either point at this one person who's, you know, and say, I'm basically saying yes to giving this person energy, or I can say yes to the people who do get this and the people who are benefiting from it. And I'm exactly the same with imposter syndrome, about telling myself, I'm like, the reason why I feel this way is because I care. Like I want to do well because I care about what I'm delivering. And it's the same. I could be the same. You know, we're building something, creating an impact also for our kids. And we're not shit mums, but like sometimes if, you know, we're struggling with the balance, it's because we're trying to create something that also does have a positive long-term impact for them as well. We're all going to fall and get back up again and learn and keep going, but I think it's sometimes people have that initial blip, don't they, and they go, right, I'm out. Can't deal with this.
Yeah.
Caroline, thank you so much for coming on. How can people connect with you and come to your raves?
Follow me on Instagram at Rave with DJ Flourish, or my website, djflourish.co.uk. I do 2 a year, one in February, one in October in Manchester, but they are going on the road from November. I can't say too much at the moment.
Okay.
But they are going to be going on the road. one venue this year. I'm going to do 2 venues next year, and then we'll just see what happens.
And we will wait and see what happens. But obviously, if people keep in touch with you, if you're doing any guest spots at any festivals and stuff as well, people can...
Yes, I'm at festivals this year.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on, yeah.
Oh, Caroline, it's been such a blessing to have you on. Is there anything you want to say before you go?
No, except I'm a bit hot and you're really cold. I need some of your cold.
You take my... hang on a minute. No. Yeah, I need to get rid of my blanket. I'm losing the plot. Caroline, thank you for being here. I appreciate you, sending you all blessings. Thank you to all the listeners for being here on this episode of Manifesting Happiness, and we will catch you all soon in a fortnight for the next episode. Take care, guys. Bye.